ensure that they are successful not only academically, but social emotionally. And we really want them to achieve mastery both within our school district and beyond our school district. So you'll see throughout the presentation, I will focus on some of our procedures, but I will also focus on our academics, our instruction, and some of the fun philosophies that we do have within our district. I am also going to have this presentation shared on our district website, so don't feel like you need to write anything down. But just so that I can review, we do have a social media page. I try to post as often as possible. Same thing with our district website. We do have a district app. If you do not already have it, I highly recommend putting this onto your phone. This has not only all of the information from the school district, but each of the schools as well. So whenever one of the schools makes a post, we try and always tag West Hempstead UFSC as well, so that you'll see highlights throughout the school year. Our central administration includes welcome. Our superintendent, Mr. Daniel Freeman. Our assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction, Ms. Dina Riley. And our assistant superintendent for business and operations, Mr. Ryan Booth. So formal school hours are 9:05 to 3:20, although we do open our doors to all students starting at 8:35. Students typically will come in and either sit in the gym and or come to the cafeteria for breakfast. That is open to all students. They will be marked late if they arrive after 9:05. We're pretty strict with that. At 9:05, students should be in their classrooms because we want the first instructional period to begin at 9:10. It seems like a lot of hours, but we have a jam-packed day. We are teaching reading, writing, math, science, social studies, in addition to their specials, in addition to lunch and recess. So we're trying to really maximize those hours throughout the day. If you are going to have your child absent for any reason, please call the school nurse. There is a number there, Ms. Gisacchio. She is our wonderful nurse. Now, in a little bit, in a few minutes, our first grade team is going to come down. But just so you are aware, you will receive towards the end of the summer who the teachers will be. And for this school year, we have 4 class sections. In addition, we have 2 special classes. And if your child is a classified student, you will be aware of those special classes and who those teachers are. But from left to right, Ms. Satara, we have Ms. Pinacchio Pitano. She is the ICT teacher with Ms. Cornett on the right, Mrs. Payne, and Ms. Shore. So those are our wonderful first grade team. And like I shared, in a few minutes, they will come down and kind of give you a quick little lunch. So as I previously shared, when students come in, they can absolutely receive breakfast, lunch as well. They can either bring lunch or they can use our services as well. We will share a free application for the lunch services, so you can return that. For example, this school year, all students were eligible to receive free lunch, which was huge. So whether or not you think you qualify, that is very important that you fill out that form for our district. In addition, we have 3 lunch periods. Typically in the past, it's been first grade, second grade, third grade eating the last. Sometimes that leaves more of a longer period of instruction for our youngest learners in the afternoon. So we're probably going to play around with that and maybe have it be a little bit like second grade, first grade, and then third grade for the new school year. Either way, students will have a snack in the morning. It is a working snack. And in addition, when they're here, there's only about 2 to 3 classes in here at a time. So for example, the first lunch period, we have half the grade come in, eat lunch, the other half goes out for recess, and then they flip-flop. So very similar to what's been already happening with the students if they go here for chess. If your child needs any type of medication administered during the I spoke a little bit about this and the structure, but every student will receive 3 days of gym, 1 music, 1 art, and 1 stellar, which is our literacy program in the district. We work on a 6-day cycle, so there's just a rotation throughout their specials. And again, this is throughout the entire district up until they get to the secondary, and then they go to a 1 and 2 day schedule. Okay. So a little bit of how learning happens in school. We always start with the New York State standards. That's where we want our students to be by the end of that school year. From there, we utilize a curriculum to guide the scope and sequence of which objectives and tasks our students will be learning throughout the school year. Our instruction is our daily, everyday within those that curriculum, our small groups, our hands-on. And then our assessments tell us how we're actually doing, right? So there's 2 types of assessments. There's formative, which teachers will use to kind of gauge who's understanding the curriculum in that moment. And then there's a summative. So those are those bigger overarching assessments, typically at the end of the unit, because we want to make sure students are achieving mastery within those standards. In addition, we have something called physical learning. And this is important for our youngsters because we want them to be able to set goals and understand how they achieve those goals. Goals are what guides us throughout life. As adults, we know that when we set goals, we typically will achieve them when we see them every single day and they're constantly in our face. So the same thing with our youngest learners. Every instruction starts with what are we learning, and the students actually have student-friendly language and they speak to I am learning blank today, why I need to learn this, and how I will know when I have learned this. So this is truly important because we're constantly closing that feedback circulation of saying, okay, our students are understanding what they are learning and they know they've achieved it when we get to that end goal together as a class. You guys want to come in first? Perfect timing. Come on down. So this is our first grade team.
Hey.
I have previously introduced, but I spoke a little bit about our 4 class sections. We have a co-taught class section as well as a self-contained class section for a 1511 student. Hi everyone, I'm Mishra. Metro is Paris, so it's me. Thank you. Tara. Thank you.
Barnett, special education, I spent part of my day with Miss Paula.
And I'm Caitlin Hicks. And how many of you have previously taught kindergarten? Raise your hand. I spent 20 years at the kindergarten. I know. And a little bit about their curriculum. We, like I shared before, we are teaching ELA, we're teaching reading and writing, we're making sure we're teaching math and science, we utilize the Investigation 3 curriculum, we teach social studies, we do a lot of project-based learning. We want students to not only have that end product that they're super proud of, but we want to make sure that along the way that they're truly gaining the skills that they're going to carry with them for life. And that includes like research skills and just understanding how a project begins and ends and the components that they need to be responsible for, as well as that final product when they're presented. We also would love this to be connected to real world whenever appropriate. So a lot of times we'll do like a really fun, creative, interdisciplinary unit. Our 3rd graders right now are acting as little travel agents, and they're learning about all of the world's countries. And they have clientele that they're researching about, and they're truly making these like really unique trips and learning about the culture within the countries that they're learning in order to fully be immersed in that social studies content, which is connected to literacy and reading and their research skills. So it's really hands-on, and that's what we want our students to be able to truly achieve when they small group rotations with students based on the skills that they're instructing. And then we want to make sure that our strategies that we're teaching to maximize that skill truly help support their area of emphasis in order to take them to the next level. On the opposite end, we have some students that are beyond their grade level, and we want to enrich those students. So this is just both for learners that need to be brought up, as well as learners that are higher that need to be enriched in their academics. Some of our specials, like I shared a little bit before, include music and art, physical education, and we have numerous assemblies throughout the school year. Typically, the PTA will help us to showcase these assemblies with our students, and it's fun and engaging for them. Every day, students have recess. When the weather is bad or too cold, they will have indoor recess. You'll see here we have a sensory walk that our older students of the secondary school actually helped design and create for our youngest learners here at Cornwall. This was a passion project that they completed about 2 years ago. Stellar is our literacy program within the district. Here, students are exposed to traditional learning through books. But in addition to that, they are getting really hands-on enriched activities. You'll see in this particular lesson, students are playing with Legos, but they're also playing with an app that helps them code those Legos in order to help them move and navigate through the book that was shared within that actual activity. So very engaging, very hands-on. As I spoke a little bit before about our academics, we care about also the entire child and making sure that when they leave here, they have the character skills to get them and be successful throughout school life. New York State is transitioning to a new graduation called Portrait Graduate, and part of that graduation requirement is going to be learning different attributes that students will need to be successful, both in school as well as post-school. Welcome. These habits of mind are taught a little bit from each of the buildings, so students truly learn and they're ingrained within them. For example, speaking with clarity and purpose, being able to persevere through difficult challenges. These are attributes that we want our scholars to really inhabit within them. So when they're being taught different life lessons, both in the classroom as well as on the blacktop outside, we want them to be that I spoke about earlier, that guides what we want our students to be able to master. When you see those report cards, that would be a direct reflection to how well those students, your children, are mastering those state standards. In addition, transportation, if your child qualifies for transportation, they should be within 3/4 of a mile from the school that they are going to be in the fall. This, if you're unsure, you can contact the transportation department at central office, and you can find out if you qualify for transportation. So that would be a little bit of a change from Chestnut. We do have a district policy that confirms students get transportation as in the years within the district. It does have to follow the policy of the district, or whether or not you follow it. And that's really it. Does anyone have any questions? Yes. The school accept friend requests or does it accept what? Oh, friend requests? So traditionally we don't actually have friend requests. We have very small sections. The teachers truly support that development for the following school year. We want to make sure that students are balanced in those class sections. So for example, some students happen to be in an integrated cultural classroom because they have a classification that requires them to have that specific program. So there isn't really movement with that. So no, we typically don't have specific friend requests. So right now we have between like 19 to 20 in each of the first grade classes. So it's slightly larger, but I will say it is developmentally appropriate. So there is science behind how many students can be successful with a teacher within a classroom. Here's the research behind that. So yes, unfortunately we did have to cut for some classes across the district. It didn't impact first grade. We have 4 sections still. Our numbers are still smaller, so we're currently no, in district Chestnut students all come here. You can contact the transportation department and you can just ask. You can inquire about your address and how far it is from the school. Yes, that's on the slides. When I post it, you'll see it on the Any other questions? Yes. Are you going to be using PowerSchool?
Power School. Are we going to be using Power School?
Yes, we utilize